So, Mr. Eads, if you are of a mind, we'd be delighted to have an update on the best projects progress.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd be happy to do that. Construction activities at Prairie Heights Middle School continue on schedule. Carpet, paint, and ceiling tile are nearing completion in Area D. That's the easternmost part of the building. Area C is close behind with electrical trim and carpet being finished there as well. Area B, the stage flooring is being installed. The polished concrete in the cafeteria is finished and it looks fantastic. Ceramic tile in the kitchen and kitchen equipment is being placed. And final above ceiling mechanical and electrical is being completed and trimmed out. This is pretty exciting stuff, I know.
No, it is.
We did have, so overall the building is about 90% complete. And our landscaping would be further along, but the very, very wet weather has slowed that down just a little bit. So we'll get back on track with that very soon. And that concludes my report. I'd be happy to take any questions. I would want to mention one more thing. Teresa, we need to find a date for the grand opening of Prairie Heights. So I expect by the next board meeting, we'll be ready to announce that, probably mid-July. And so we'll have a grand opening and a chance for the whole community to come and see the building 100% completed with all the landscaping in place, the track ready for middle school student feet, and and everything else. So we'll get that to you. Look forward to it at the next meeting. So.
Did anybody else here wonder how the water affected that property? You have a report for us on that?
We have actually had some trouble with saturated soils, and we've had to over-excavate a few places. It's been a fairly significant number of change orders. We've managed it so far. It's in the tens of thousands for the most recent event, which the northern end of the track and the northern end of the spur road, which has yet to be named by the board, Prairie Heights Middle School Drive or Hawkeye Lane or something like that. But we had to over-excavate some of that too, and we're concerned long-term about how soft that soil is, so we probably will restrict agricultural activities to some distance west of the actual road itself and plant that with native grasses and try to leave that undisturbed until such time in the future as that land is developed. But we have had some saturated soils under 65th Avenue around the track and around the road, so it's been a bit of a problem, but we have an experienced contractor who's able to deal with it with over-excavation and putting back a different material. So.
All right. Good news. Thank you for that. Don't go anywhere, because I think you're going to tell us a little something about Greeley West.
We have another best project. The West abatement project is underway. In fact, today, the Hudspeth, the abatement contractor, was in full mobilization with 12 employees on site. They are currently isolating areas of West High School around the 300 and 400 hallways, basically all the classrooms with 300 and 400 numbers. Going forward, we can say that the 4 portables actually had classes in them for the first time today, so we moved the students out of that part of the building so that we could get a head start on isolating the area that's going to be abated first. We had to add a little road base because of the mud so students could get a path out there. The 10 storage pods that are on the south parking lot are now full with bulletin boards and all the things that came out of the rooms that are being stored until the rooms are abated, the finish is put back, and then they'll be restored back into those rooms. So that all happened this weekend in spite of the weather and all that moving out, and it was accomplished, and we're on track and on schedule for that job too so far. So
that's wonderful. And once again, that is removal of asbestos, which is nobody's friend.
That's
but
right.
We need to do it in a careful fashion.
The project will get the asbestos out of West in 2 phases, one this summer and the remaining part next summer. So.
Great. Comments, questions? Or thanks?
Could I mention one other little project we have going on? The city of Greeley has, of course, given us the funds to replace our football stadium and soccer stadium with artificial turf. The final logo has been selected for that, and it will be revealed at the next board meeting. So.
Excellent.
And we will delay the start of that project until after graduation so that nobody's graduating on a mud field when we remove the turf.
Smart
so I
thinking.
snuck that in, but I would like to be updating the board on all of those other projects that are going on as we go forward.
We're delighted to see this progress. Okay. Really, these things are just amazing. And we thank the city of Greeley again for their cooperation and support. The next item is a proposal for adoption of elementary literacy curriculum, and Chief Academic Officer Dr. Stacy Dattery, Elementary Literacy Coordinator Kelly Selbach are here to give us some specific information about this proposal. This is an action item, so I will accept a motion at this time.
I move that the Board of Education of Weld County School District 6 adopt the Elementary Literacy Curriculum Reading Mastery Signature Edition published by McGraw-Hill and Wonders published by McGraw-Hill for grades kindergarten and first grade, and Wonders published by McGraw-Hill for grades 2 through 5 as presented in compliance with policy IGD curriculum adoption.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Thank you. Please, welcome.
Well, thank you, President DeWitt, Interim Superintendent Eads, and members of the school board. Tonight, we are bringing forward a recommendation to you from the Elementary Literacy Task Force. These materials actually were last updated in elementary reading in 2006. And since that time, elementary teachers have utilized the resources that were in alignment with the former Colorado standards. However, the standards and assessments have changed, and as we have transitioned over the past 3 years with these new standards, we have realized that the current resources are indeed lacking in the rigor and in the expectation as they are in the new standards. Therefore, this year, we are asking the board for approval of elementary instructional materials as it is the next critical step to support our teachers and our students with quality materials that align with our revised and quite rigorous academic standards that have been adopted by the state. In these next few slides, we will share with you the process and the results of the work of the task force this year. So to begin, it is important to understand the purpose of this adoption and the basis for our bringing this to you this evening. As you are aware, the Colorado adopted new standards in 2010. And over the past 3 years, as I said before, district teachers have been working to implement these standards within the resources that were previously adopted. That has brought forward some challenges for our teachers, many of which they deal with on a daily basis and do an amazing job. However, it is time for us to evaluate that, or it has come to evaluate that and to make some requests for an adoption. The changes that really have driven the conversation come in the form of these 3 main areas of alignment or with the academic standards. We know that nonfiction text is a much greater part of our new standards, and our old resources are very limited in the amount of nonfiction text, as our old standards didn't call for that great of detail and that amount of text to be read in the elementary classroom. In addition, not only is the text type changed from being just all narrative and fiction-based to being more nonfiction-based, but also in text complexity, and that's just at the depth and the level of complexity that students are reading and needing to comprehend and understand what they're reading at a greater level of detail and analysis and synthesis. And so we needed our old resources did not meet the level of text complexity that is required in the new standards. And finally, the standards have changed dramatically in what the expectations are in K-1, and particularly the foundational standards in scope and sequence. And our new standards are much more detailed and outlined into what the expectations are for kindergarten and first grade students. Again, our resources, albeit were better, and we implemented some strategies that supported teachers in kindergarten and first grade, new materials that we have brought forward for your approval this evening will make this much more supportive for the teacher and more meaningful for the students as we go forward. Here you go.
Sit this up here. So there are many teachers and leaders to thank for being part of this important process, many of whom are here tonight. And so if I call your name, would you please stand so we can recognize your hard work? There are 29 teachers and leaders total, and they are Ann Campbell, Ann Ramirez, Cassandra Guy, Chloe Naki, Christina Kisak, Hannah Polanski, Jennifer Rio Solares, Kelly Brandley, Teresa Santos, Todd Sayers, Kim Penn, Kirsty Stenzel, Loree Warden, Melinda Andrews, Michelle Warner, Roberta Brown, Sarah Fisher, Tammy Hermance, Tanya Deering, Heather Sievert, Holly Bressler, Ingrid Delahaye, Kathy Nelson, Jen Sheldon, Laszlo Hunt, Stacy Dattery, Diana Riley, myself, and Wes Tuttle. So we'd like to give them a big round of applause for everything. So before I share with you the recommendation, I would like to walk you through the process and timeline that the task force went through in determining this recommendation I bring to you tonight. Between the months of October and December of this school year, the task force created a common vision and purpose for determining the quality resources that would best meet the needs of our teachers and our students. Then, from December to February, the task force previewed a variety of potential resources and chose to review more deeply those that most closely aligned with the new state-adopted language arts standards being addressed at the elementary level. In March, the best resources were identified for each level using the Analyzing Instructional Materials AIM process. And on March 25th, publishers presented to the task force and the district community was invited to review the resources and provide their feedback. In April, final selections were made for each grade level, and the recommendations were shared with the District Curriculum Council. In addition, through March and April, the recommended materials were on display at each elementary school in the lobby of the District Administration Building to gain feedback and provide input from the school and district community. Tonight, the task force recommendations are being brought to the board to act upon this recommendation.
So based on the evidence generated through this entire selection process, the committee is recommending Wonders by McGraw-Hill Publishing Company as a core resource K-5 and Reading Mastery Signature Edition as a core resource for kindergarten and first grade. We believe our process has been rigorous, as evidenced by the materials in your board packet, and that we have chosen the very best instructional materials as they are relevant to students and raise the level of thinking beyond what many other texts provide. We realize that in times of a tight budget, this may seem like an unnecessary expenditure. However, it is critical to make this purchase, as we know our work in schools is about student learning and academic success. And without quality curriculum resources in a core content area, such as elementary literacy, teachers are left to supplement with what they have, what they can get their hands on, or different parts and pieces that they can pull together. This is less than adequate for our students in District 6. The total cost of these resources is $1,532,402.78. Approximately $1 million of this funding for these resources comes directly to us from the READ Act money this year. And as you know, this money has specific requirements for spending, and this resource acquisition does meet those requirements. So the remainder of the funding will come from general fund. At an upcoming board meeting, we will bring to you the purchase of this of these two resources as the final paperwork is completed. So we thank you for your time this evening, and we'll be happy to address any comments or questions that you may have before taking action this evening.
Thank you very much. We've been looking over this material for some time. Perhaps someone has a comment or a question? Dr. Richard.
Probably more of a comment than a question, but just a thank you again to everybody who participated in taking a look at the materials, because as you see that outline of the process that you went through from the book study to the review of materials, besides teaching classes all day or leading your school all day, there was that extra piece. And I was struck by the rubric that you used, how clearly you had identified what you felt your students needed and what you needed as teachers to be able to do best by your students. And so that the rubric had just such a tremendous amount of clarity to it. I also appreciated seeing in the plan the professional development, because it is just a material, and it's really up to that implementation of those materials that will make it powerful. And so I was glad to see the professional development in there. And finally, it is about time that we do something here. 2006 is actually a long time ago. And the changes in expectations for what our students need to know and be able to do have changed dramatically. And we're in our best position for students when we can put in teachers' hands the materials, the tools that they need to get the work done. So thank you again to all of you for participating in that and bringing this to the board.
Absolutely. Other comments? If not, roll call, Ms. Bray.
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Haefele? Aye. Mr. Hall?
Aye.
Mr. Lydiak?
Aye.
Dr. Richard?
Aye.
Mr. Richardson?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
And the motion carries 7-0.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you very much. Thanks again for a job well done, all of you who represent all the other folks who put in a hand and a thought to this. We're in your debt. Well, this concludes our agenda this evening. Thank you for joining us this evening. This meeting is now adjourned.